Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we have ourselves a track from an ex named Arlo, titled Till the Day We Die. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on Spotify here. We got the art up on the screen, Vampire. I should know that I've actually reviewed a few tracks from Arlo in the past, so it'd be good to hear more. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go, Till the Day We Die. That's an effective progression now.
Did forever pass me by in the blink of an eye? 'Cause you said you'd be mine till the day you win. Why is it I'm still alone and you're not by my side? 'Cause you said you'd be mine till the day.
Right, switch to the dirty. Right, spreading throughout stereo field. Right, transition to a lead here. And that was it. Short and sweet, 2.5 minutes. We're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion, my review of this track from an act named Arlo, titled Till the Day We Die. In this section, I'm going to be providing an overall song analysis of everything from vocals and lyrics all the way through to production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think that the song is about someone who is looking at the connection they had to another, and they're effectively looking at how maybe they feel betrayed or disappointed at how things didn't work out and how this person haunts them. You know, this person is still in their mind, and just things didn't go the way that they wanted to for whatever reason. I mean, I look at the art, maybe there was like a little vampire, or like maybe the vampire was the person who sort of like sucked the life out of them. I'm not sure. Either way, I think that that kind of post-rock metal vibe overall suits the subject matter of the song, of the track itself. I think that it's a really cool sort of like overall sort of experience listening through this. I think that Arlo sings well here. I like that we stuck to a clean sung style with some belts and some more sort of quiet or vulnerable parts. There was enough variety within the actual vocal performance itself to keep people interested. I think the way that we set our piece, and we were nice and fragrant and had some reverbs as well through the piece, made, whilst it was kind of chilling to listen to with some of the coldness of those guitar takes and those tones there, I think it was just, it was short and sweet at well at 2.5 minutes there. It didn't overstay their welcome. We had different verses and choruses there that were easy to follow along to, with little breaks between different instruments and changes in dynamic range or the intensity of it, with a variety of different guitar, bass, drum and key takes, with some interesting rises interspersed in bits of ear candy as well. That slow rise of the riser at the start, those synth layers there, is kind of ominous sounding, but it's such a beautiful progression and sort of sequence or motif that you have at the start there. The kind of sound of it ticking away there is an interesting, almost like the time is passing. And the consistency of the rhythm there almost illustrates that it's something we've had to contend with for quite some time. I like that the keys add more further flourish in that part. They're in a bit of sophistication and meter to it before, as we continue to build. And we gradually add these, drum elements in with the crashes, the hi-hats, the kicks, etc. And we have a range of grooves on the drum kit there. But it's just nice to have that percussive element not come in immediately and allowing things to kind of staircase a little bit. We have these kind of resonant sort of legato guitar layers on top that add a sense of tension in the high end without it being too sharp or abrasive, which isn't thanks to the layering as well as the composition and production. And not committing to an immediate groove and just having that crash and kick there with the distorted guitars and low end as well, the rhythm parts sort of playing power chords adds a bit of menace and darkness to it without it being too overbearing. There's a nice pulse and flow to the low end there. I think the bass is well handled there. It's not too resonant there. It's nicely chained by those kicks. And we have lots of pretty sort of sub-lead arpeggios over top of the piece there to kind of decorate the sides of the stereo field and add a bit of flavor outside of what we're doing in the center of the stereo field with the vocals. The breathiness of some of those vocal takes, again, it illustrates a sense of tenderness, which I think is complicit or works alongside some of those softer kind of more ambient elements within the arrangement. And as we crescendo on some parts with the heaviness of those snare parts, you just feel this overwhelming tension occur, which really is what the call and response is in that last sort of chorus section. It does really just kind of fill things up really neatly and offer a bit of a change in purpose there. It's nice just to have things build, and not in a way which is a complete sort of linear curve though. To have the guitar solo around the 2-minute mark was just a nice alt lead there. It makes the most of the instrument, which has been at least foreshadowed in part due to those sub leads that we've had earlier, matching the sizzle of the distortion of the rhythm parts with the sort of lead elements there, and we explore the relevant triads and scales neatly without going too spicy with any sort of chromatics. And I think we finish with a natural harmonic with the Day We Die part there, which is interesting. I think that that's a really pretty way to end the track there. It shows that we're not trying to be too so menacing or abrasive with it. It's more a release for us, a personal sort of release. And I think especially given that this is released by Broken Heart Records, you can kind of get behind that. You understand the angle we're going for here. We're not necessarily angry about what happened. We're just kind of working through our grief. Thematically, I think this track leans well into the minor there. And when it's those kind of dusty, gritty, sort of like strummed layers on the guitar to again bring things down a little bit, or the heaviness of the drums, the sort of rhythm distorted guitars, the leads or the bass, we typically play power chord elements that offer a very sort of easy to sort of digest chord progression, decorating on top with notes that aren't again too alien to the main sort of triads that are present. And I think that the way that the lead guitar carries itself is almost like an extension of the vocal melodies that we have in certain ways. We have adjustments of those, and I like, again, just going back to the vocals, don't really talk about them too much. Arlo's vocal technique is fantastic. I only really spoke about the lyrics and how we expressed ourselves, but we're very comfortable in our head and chest voice. We're very comfortable with our call and responses, and it's as much the way that the vocals are produced is basically Arlo's competency as well, outside of expression there. We hit those needs cleanly, and we suit that, again, that post-rock kind of goth rock atmosphere well, as well as incorporating some sort of metalcore, more modern metal elements. And I don't think that we needed to overcomplicate the vocal performance either. It's literally just a very well handled occurrence here, which doesn't overstay its welcome. And I think if this is where we're starting with this new round of tracks that we're releasing, it looks promising for future songs. I didn't really talk about the pianos either. I thought that the pianos sort of reinforcing some of the existing guitar or sort of like synth patterns was really neat. I enjoy when keys can be a lead element or a main focus, but also when they're supportive in a way which doesn't just add further resonance to the lower mid-frequency spectrums. It's nice to have their sort of like individuality within it, whilst also knowing that they're a team player making the most of those 8 octaves. Why not playing the entire 8? So ultimately, I just think, again, the combination of synth pads or strings alongside the piano, guitar, bass, drums work neatly alongside the vocals. There's nice cohesion and chemistry between the elements that are present. Thematically, the chord progressions and melodies make sense, and there's not a note out of place. It's overall just a really tight performance, and I think there's enough variety within the composition of the structure of the track in order to retain listeners' attention and just sound cool. The studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering is well handled. I'm really thankful that that was sorted out, because the last thing you'd want in this kind of situation is for things to sort of to overdo things. You know, the last thing you'd want is to get into a position where you're like, crap, you know, how do we sort of like navigate a track that doesn't sound as good in post as it does in the recording scene. So the vocals weren't overproduced. There were some reverbs and compression and EQ tails and some delays occasionally, but it was mostly about creating a sort of an ethereal atmosphere that works alongside a lot of those kind of dusty or kind of gritty sounding drum, guitar, or bass textures. I think that there were no weird resonant frequencies within the frequency spectrum. If there was filtering or adjustments of how things were perceived, it's a deliberate decision to kind of change the relative perceived intensity of the track, or simply as a stylized thing. There was dynamic range, there was automation of volume like at the start, or maybe that was just an envelope thing with the synth pad or whatever they were using there, but just the way it rose was really good. And the crescendos that we have with some of those drum parts as well, between going up into chorus, is also kind of neat. The music surrounds you in the headphones there. It spreads apart at one point there when we get into the chorus. It just gets bigger, and it's a very deliberate decision in regard to how we position things between the left and right sides of the cans. It's nice and loud with a bit of pumping, but not too much. You know, it's not got a lot of post, you know, dynamic range with the production, but that's okay. We want it to be a tight, loud track. It has composition dynamic range, which carries it. Yeah, no, very well done. No applicable constructive critique with that one. I feel like it's just a really great standalone concept. My general thoughts on it are that I'm thankful that Arlo is producing more music. I have enjoyed listening to their stuff in the past. There's never been a time with their music where I've been like, yeah, no, that seems kind of weird or unusual. I'm not sure what's happening there. So whenever I hear that a musician that I worked with in the past that is doing new music is doing so, it just makes me happy. Even if the stuff that we're discussing isn't necessarily super positive or like uplifting, I don't think music needs to be like that. I'd rather people were just honest about their own intentions and what they put forward. So I wish them all the best of luck in future, but thank you for watching my review of this track from an ex named Arlo, titled Till the Day We Die. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and a Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SB Reacts. Spiderhands out.